This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Hello, everybody. It is the After Party Live. We're back at it after a long weekend, and I'm not going to lie, it felt nice to have a couple of days to just breathe. I hope you had a good holiday weekend, and thank you for being here and rejoining the Mark Thompson Show and the After Party Live on this Hide in Your Cave Monday. Welcome aboard, everybody. I see a lot of people talking about the pain, the aches and the pains in the chat. Oh, no. Yeah, Vanessa Pacheco says, it's amazing as you get older what little it can take to mess up your back. Isn't that true? One tweak and all of a sudden, boom. I hurt my knee the other day and I've been limping around like an old person, so I totally get it. Tammy's spine and muscles hurt every day. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Mark needs to be stretched on the rack. Sometimes stretching your back in different ways can help. I don't know. Yeah, sometimes you just have to get through it. Mark has concierge ER, no sympathy. Well, I always have sympathy for people that feel pain regardless. Jim says Mark's story of hurting his back brought back memories of taking care of our elderly kitties. Still not ready for any more. Maybe when I retire. Is it Hide in Your Cave Monday? Why, yes, Jim. Yes, it is Hide in Your Cave Monday. Thank you for asking. And this time, we're going to South Africa. I found some really cool caves to show you. Of course, the Cradle of Civilization. So we'll take a peek into some very interesting caves that are a lot different than the caves that we are used to seeing on this show. Huge thank you to everyone who contributes to make this show possible. And that includes Wes, who tossed in $5 today. Over the weekend, the recurring payment from Mary Zane came in, as did the one from Deborah S. and Rhonda A. And Wes contributes $5 last week. Those are the most recent contributions. And I just want to thank you guys for helping keep this crowdfunded show rolling here on YouTube. All right. Let's jump into some of the stories we have to talk about today. And I will say, and this is kind of inside baseball, but I always share the details with you, that StreamYard, which is the platform that we use that allows us to show pictures and videos and put names on the screen and everything else, they changed the way everything is located. And they took away my ability to stack the pictures in the order that they appear on the show. So I'm going to be clicking all over the place and it might be a little messy today. They didn't say they were going to change it. They just went ahead and changed it. The first story that I have to talk to you about today is this tunnel. And I saw this in SF Gate. It is a 6,000 foot long tunnel that is expected to cost $2.1 billion to build along the last chance grade in between Klamath and the Oregon border and the Crescent City area. And it's this region that consistently suffers from rock slides. It's here I have a picture of the area. There you go. You can see crews out there trying to shore up the road, and it's a long way down, a coastal cliffside, constantly battered by rock slides like this. You can see the rocks just covering the entire roadway there. And it happens all of the time. Well, it happens frequently enough that spending $2.1 billion to build a tunnel instead of having to constantly rebuild the roadway is something that is being looked at. The fix is along Highway 101 in far, far northern California. If this tunnel takes shape, it would be the longest tunnel that we have built in the history of California. This is way far up in the redwoods. It's an isolated stretch of road, but it's also a critical stretch of roadway. It's more than 5 hours north of San Francisco, nearly as much as that from Portland. I would say a lot more. But when it's covered by rocks like this, the communities of Crescent City and Klamath are completely cut off. It is a 3-mile stretch of highway And it's on this overlapping area of landslides. According to Caltrans, the Caltrans spokesperson telling SF Gate that keeping the road open and safe while also working toward a permanent fix is super challenging. It's meant years of slope monitoring, field studies, and emergency repairs, all while planning a massive tunnel to bypass this unstable zone entirely. The California Transportation Commission recently set aside $40 million to support this design phase of this last chance grade project along Highway 101 south of Crescent City in Del Norte County. Yes, it's Del Norte, not Del Norte. The funding will go toward designing a 6,000-foot tunnel that would allow drivers to completely bypass the unstable cliffside at last chance grade. It is so prone to landslides that it's become infamous in this region. Right now, the longest tunnel in California is in Yosemite, which is a 4,233-foot long passage built in 1933. This one would be 6,000 feet long. It would avoid the most intense area of known landslides and geologic instability. It would be safer for people, for sure. Here's what it would look like. There it is. That's what it would look like, a big tunnel right through the redwood forest. The stakes, they say, are very high here. The environmental impact report says Highway 101 in this area is the only north-south state highway in the county. It is the only viable route between Klamath and Crescent City, and if and when the highway closes between these two communities, it would be a 449-mile detour. What? No, I'm just not going. 449 miles out of your way. No. It's 8 hours. The detour is 8 hours. And that includes kids who need to go to school on the other side of the hill. So, the last time the rocks and debris crashed down in 2021 after a big storm, the road was fully shut down for months as the crews tried to clear the slope. So, they say the landslides here at Last Chance Grade happen 1 to 3 times per decade, but they've been happening more in recent years. And they're very costly when they happen. The last one in 2021, well, the Caltrans folks say between 2015 and 2018, Caltrans spent just about $50 million on storm damage repairs in this area. They're replacing retaining walls, building 3 more retaining walls, restoring a southbound lane that was lost at one point, and the hillside has not stopped moving. In 2023, the crews had to put in even more retaining walls. So, and it's always two-way traffic in this area because there's always something construction-wise going on here. So, and it for people like us, maybe that live in other areas and maybe have driven this roadway on the way to somewhere else or, on vacation, that's one thing. But people live here. They have to go to school and doctor's appointments and all kinds of things. So this is going to be a $2.1 billion project, though. This is a long, long tunnel. Anyway, that's what it would look like when completed. Here's another rendering on the other side. Makes sense to me. I mean, how many times can you shore up a roadway that's just not safe? Come on. They found a real snake on a plane. No joke. There it is. Crews are like, listen, we got to get this before it gets into the ductwork and the inner workings of the plane. And if that happens, we're going to have to evacuate this plane and we're going to have to really rip it apart to get that snake out. This reptile found as passengers were boarding a Virgin Australia flight from Melbourne to Brisbane, or Brisbane. Is that how you say it in Australia? The snake catcher said he thought this could be venomous. He approached it in a darkened hold, but it turned out it was just a harmless green tree snake. He said it wasn't until I caught the snake that I realized it wasn't venomous, but until then, it looked really dangerous. He entered the cargo hold, and the snake was half hidden behind a panel, and he thought it could crawl deeper into the plane. He said, I had one chance to grab it, and if it got past me, it would have gone into the panels, and that would have been extremely hard to catch. These snakes, very fast moving, very thin, and very agile. There he is in the panels trying to get this snake. What a job. He said he told an aircraft engineer and airline staff that they have to evacuate this aircraft if the snake disappeared into the plane. He said, if I don't get this in one shot, it's going to sneak through the panels and you're going to have to evacuate the plane, because at that stage, I didn't know what kind of snake it was. Thankfully, he said, I got it on the first try. I captured it. If I didn't get it that first time, the engineers will be pulling apart a Boeing 737 looking for a snake still right now. Because the snake is native to the Brisbane region, he suspects it came on board inside a passenger's luggage and then escaped. He said it's actually very uncommon for snakes to be on a plane. The snake cannot be returned to the wild because it has to undergo quarantine first. This is a protected species, and so it's been given to a veterinarian. Hopefully they'll find a home for it with a licensed snake keeper. But that's the latest on the snake on a plane. I thought this was a really interesting story. Sometimes you look at someone with tattoos, you may look at someone with tattoos, and you think of them a certain way, right? You judge them, I don't know, are they more of a free thinker? Are they a little bit of a rebel? In some cases, you might think, are they tacky? Did they lack class? I'm thinking of the older members of my family and how they would judge. It's interesting the study was done, because I think that tattoos are so common now that the judgment surrounding them seems to be way, way less. I don't see someone with a tattoo and think less of them. I don't know if people look at me a certain way because I don't have tattoos. There could be a judgment that is reversed, like, oh, she must be prissy or uppity, or, not as much of a intellectual or a out of the box thinker because she doesn't try new things and she doesn't have tattoos. I can imagine that there are some people who might think that way. I don't know. But there's been a new study saying that a lot of people misjudge the personalities of people that have tattoos. The study was published in the August issue of the Journal of Research in Personality, and it was done by the folks at Michigan State University. The participants of this study tended to agree among themselves what they think a tattoo says about someone. But it turns out their impressions were generally off base. When people saw a tattoo, they tended to think at least similarly in what they assumed the person was like. But the accuracy of those assumptions does not align with reality for most of those traits. The researchers had 274 adults with 375 tattoos fill out a questionnaire to assess their personality. And then the team showed photos of the people's tattoos to a second group of 30 college students and professors. And they asked those people to judge the bearer's personality solely based on their tattoos. And the judgy judge people tended to agree with each other regarding what a tattoo said about a person. But it turns out that what they thought the tattoo said about the person rarely corresponded to the owners of the tattoo's self-reported personality. The people were consistently misjudged on their agreeableness, conscientiousness, extroversion, and neuroticism when they were evaluated solely on the tattoos they had. People with death related tattoos, skulls and crossbones and those things, were judged to be less agreeable and more neurotic, but that didn't match what they said about their own personality. One exception in this: the people with quirky or wacky tattoos were perceived to be open to new experiences, and that evaluation proved accurate in the personality tests. Those folks were accurately judged to be more open minded, interested in seeking out new experiences, that they were more appreciative of art and artistic things. The researchers said, "We were surprised to see that people accurately judge someone's openness based on only seeing a photo of a tattoo. When people see a wacky or goofy tattoo, they assume the person is open to experience, and they're correct about it." The next step now is to see if behavior toward tattooed people changes based on those judgments. So, for example, women with visible tattoos may be less likely to be hired for roles in supervisor positions. They may be offered a lower salary than peers without visible tattoos. So, they want to look into that and see if those things are accurate. They say, listen, discrimination based on someone having tattoos is likely never acceptable, but people make different judgments about different types of tattoos. I don't know. I just feel like this is such a study for 20 years ago. I guess people still judge people based on tattoos. I thought we were past that. Don't we have so many more problems in the world? You don't judge someone based on a tattoo. I mean, I know my mother would, but new generations, I don't know. I usually don't show you pictures of skeletal remains. I try not to, but this time I'm going to show you a picture of skeletal remains because this was found, this skeleton, you can see the skull there, by a gas company working in Lima, Peru. The gas workers were digging beneath the streets and they found this 1,000-year-old mummy with dark brown hair. 1,000-year-old skeleton. They think it belonged to a child who may have lived among fishermen from the Chansay culture, which thrived in Peru before the rise of the Inca Empire. They were trying to put in some new pipes when they found this pre-Inca burial. They think the child was between the ages of 10 and 15. The remains had been resting there undisturbed for 1,000 years, 4 feet beneath the surface. The mummy in a seated position, wisps of dark brown hair still visible on the head. The burial and the objects found as well correspond to a style that developed between 1,000 and 1,200. 1,000 and 1,200. Workers made this discovery while they were trying to expand a network of natural gas pipelines. The area used to be covered by agricultural fields. In recent years, developed into a residential neighborhood. What happens when we expand, right? First, they unearthed the trunk of a huarango tree, which once served as a tomb marker at a depth of about 20 inches. The mummy was wrapped in a shroud a few feet below the tree trunk. And nearby, workers found grave goods like ceramic plates, pots, and jugs. In some of those plates and bowls, there were crustacean remains like crabs. They hope it will help them learn more about the diet of these individuals. But the ceramics had these geometric patterns and images of fishermen on them. They think the mummy, which was facing west toward the sea, belonged to a community of fishermen from this culture. How interesting. They say it's common to find archaeological remains on the Peruvian coast, including in Lima. And so it's not necessarily a surprise to find something like this. And that many of these old mummies of this kind are preserved naturally because their skin uh, is dehydrated by the hot climate. So, very interesting. They say that those that are mummified intentionally are usually found in a seated position with their hands over their faces. That was their burial rite back then. In Lima, 3,000 years of history are just beneath our feet, according to archaeologists. Crazy. Digging for a gas line, and that's what you find. It turns out that we have something interesting when we get the Chinese takeout meal, or you go to a Chinese restaurant. You open the fortune cookie, take out your fortune, and on the back, if you flip it over, there often will be some numbers for you. Fortune cookie numbers. Those are your lucky numbers, right? Turned out to be really lucky for a lady in Kentucky. Your lotto of the day. Fortune cookie numbers earned this woman in Kentucky a $50,000 lottery prize. She used those numbers from inside the fortune cookie to play the lottery. This Lexington resident named Kathy said she copied the numbers off the back of the fortune inside her daughter's cookie, used them to buy a lottery ticket, and placed a $5 wager on a golden snake triple play game on the lottery's instant page. She said she appropriately selected the game's fortune cookie bonus. She said, I almost always choose the fortune cookie bonus. I just happened to choose that one. I just hit it and there it went. And it was that instant play game that earned her a $50,000 prize. I was on my laptop, she said, when I saw the bigger winner notification followed by the $50,000 amount. She said it was a lot to digest, and I had to double check to make sure I wasn't seeing things. Her winnings will be used to plan for her future. She said her husband retires in December, and this will be some extra money to have on hand. We've already taken care of our house, our van, and our truck, so this will be a nice addition to our savings. No, don't be so hasty to throw those lottery tickets away, right? Is anyone taking a statin type of medication? Because I saw this story that I thought was worth reporting to you about statins that could prevent thousands of heart attacks and stroke. The researchers say that these statins are not being as widely taken as they should. I thought there were a lot of people at risk for heart disease that were on statins. And I've also read, and I don't know if this is true, that once you're on a statin, that you rarely stop taking a statin. You're kind of forever on the statin, which would mean to me that I would be kind of hesitant to take it. But this new study shows that there are tens of thousands of people that suffer needless heart attacks and strokes every year because they are not taking these cholesterol lowering drugs. The researchers reporting Monday in the Journal of General Internal Medicine more than 39,000 deaths, nearly 100,000 non-fatal heart attacks, and up to 65,000 strokes in America could be prevented if people eligible for statins and other cholesterol-lowering drugs were actually taking them. The data is that nearly half of Americans, 47% of us, who have never had a heart attack or stroke, are eligible to take statins under US guidelines. But even though 47% of us are eligible, fewer than a quarter, 23%, have been prescribed these life-saving drugs. The researchers say that a substantial number of heart attack or stroke survivors also are not taking the drugs, even though they are all eligible for them under the US guidelines. And according to doctors with Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, These results add to a growing body of evidence that there are important shortcomings in the quality of care for common and costly chronic diseases like high cholesterol, that addressing those shortcomings would yield major public health benefits. And the sample size was not small here. They looked at data from nearly 5,000 US adults between the ages of 40 and 75 who took part in an annual CDC health prevention survey between 2013 and 2020. The survey included data on people's bad or LDL cholesterol and their overall heart health risk profile. Even people who suffered prior heart attack or stroke and are at risk for a follow-up event are not always prescribed statins. Only about two-thirds, 68%, were taking statins, even though all of them were eligible for those drugs under the guidelines. So, they say along with warding off heart attacks and strokes, properly prescribed statins could prevent every year nearly 88,000 heart bypass surgeries and procedures to reopen blocked or clogged arteries. Their thinking is this: if everyone eligible for statins took them, the researchers estimate that average LDL cholesterol levels would drop sharply and the risk of heart attack or stroke would fall by up to 27%. The prevention of heart attacks and strokes through these cholesterol lowering drugs, they think could save more than 30 billion in annual medical costs for the United States. I don't want to wonder who paid for this study, whether it was the folks that make the statins, I don't know, but it seems very statin positive. The researchers say better patient education and improved screening methods could make sure the right people are taking the statins that they need. They call the high cholesterol a chronic health condition that claims silently far too many lives. That there are millions of us walking around with this condition that we don't even know that we have it. And then when it's recognized, it goes untreated too often. And we need to fix that. So I guess more of us need to be on statins, according to the research. I wanted to show you this bench. I thought it was so interesting. You kind of see the handprints on the bench. That's what this bench is all about. It looks puffy, kind of comfortable, although you can see the wires sticking out. It's called a Pengalin Bench. And it's from this designer that wanted to make it so that the bench would have a memory of whoever sat on it. Imprints of hands, butts, other body parts lingering on the surface of this heat-reactive seating collection. The Pengalin benches are made using industrial foam offcuts, left unupholstered, and instead hand-colored with thermochromic dye containing heat-sensitive pigments that react to temperature and touch like a mood ring does. I don't know. I wonder if anyone tested whether we're supposed to be having direct skin contact with this type of thermochromic dye, but nevertheless, they wanted it to have you wanted you to have a long-lasting impact even after you got up and walked away. The imprint of your butt or your hand or whatever would still be on this bench. They're pioneering these pigments in furniture production that remember, react, and adapt in real time. The creator said he wanted to make something that felt alive, that didn't just occupy space but responded to it. The thermochromic applications mostly tend to be flat or textile based, but applying it directly to three-dimensional foam pushed the material in a new direction. The thermochromic dye works through temperature-sensitive molecules that change their structure in response to heat or cold, which causes them to reflect light differently and appear as different colors to the eye. They adapted these pigments to dye the upholstery. Each section dyed individually. The foam functions as the seating's only upholstery without the need for an additional textile cover, and is supposed to reflect and reveal the unseen relationship between people and objects. Kind of fascinating how you could see the history of who sat on the bench, who touched it. Yeah, I don't know. There are other designers also apparently experimenting with the thermochromic pigments. Uh, we saw this recently with someone who was developing house paint. Remember the story where it changed from white in summer to black in winter? And it worked the whole point was to heat and cool the home in different seasons based on the changes in the paint. I don't know. Would you have a seat on this bench and leave your mark? They don't say how long your butt print or hand print or leg print or what have you stays on there. It's interesting. I'm going to the chat. What do you think of it? Hmm. Oh, you're talking about the tunnel. I'm seeing tunnel. Uh Sloppy seconds. Tammy says germaphobes would have nightmares over this. Why does it have cushions on the underside? I mean, they probably wanted to make it look like a cloud. Or maybe it's because your legs press down. So, but I see it underneath there too. I don't know. Mama says, didn't they have color changing clothes years ago? Am I remembering that right? No, my mom bought a shirt, a t-shirt in Hawaii that changed depending on the temperature or whether it got wet or something. No, I remember that. I think you're right on that. Hmm. Yeah. Sandy says, as far as the handprint goes, all I can think of is the germs of the people who put those handprints on it. Well, maybe it would serve as a reminder, don't reach down and touch a public bench, right? Yeah. Vanessa, do I really want to be leaving my butt print behind? I don't think so. I knew, by the way, Vanessa, that it was Pacheco because I know some Pachecos, have known more than one. There's a big ranching family in Petaluma. Their last name is Pacheco. So I kind of figured it wasn't Pacheco, but I could have been wrong. I don't know. Yvonne says it's probably softer to sit on than a real pangolin. Now that's the truth. Depending on how big it is, it doesn't look like it would be easy to sit on it. It has to be easy. It has to, yeah, I don't know. Looks too high to sit on, says Nullifidian. Looks like grapes to me, says Mama. You can sit on it. As a matter of fact, there's a picture I'll show you of a woman sitting on it. So I think it's lower than it looks in this picture. But I'll show you the woman sitting on it. In case you're interested, you can see this lady. I think it's lower to the ground than the picture without a person appears. But for perspective, here's this lady sitting on it. So I think it's easy to sit on. It looks like it's easy to sit on. Maybe puffy and weird. There she is putting her hand on it. Yeah. I don't know. Here's something weird. Speaking of strange items. I wonder how long it took this lady to collect all of these egg cups. This woman in Spain has a collection of 15,485 egg cups. Look at them all. She has been collecting egg cups for more than 50 years. And she now has a Guinness World Record to show for it. Her name is Maria Jose Fuster. And she had to gather 2 witnesses to help her count up her collection of egg cups. She had them all laid out at a community center in her hometown of Campo, Spain. There are multiple patterns, colors, designs, novelty cups. She's got Superman egg cups, Garfield egg cups, Betty Boop egg cups. You name it, she's got it. She has blogs about her egg cup collecting, one to catalog each piece of her collection, one to list the names of the people who have donated to her collection. A lot of them, 1,143 of them, are on display at a local museum, but she had to pull them all to count them all. 15,485 egg cups she has. And so, I don't, she must have a warehouse to keep them all somewhere. But she now has the Guinness World Record. Such a weird record to have, but she has it. So there you go. There's something happening in the sky, and it all has to do with double novas. I couldn't get the picture, so I wanted to show it to you on this different way, sharing my screen with you. Let me take the egg cup lady down so that you can see this. That is a nova. And this is an opportunity for the next couple of days to see a rare appearance of two novas at one time in the southern sky. The novas, new stars, are best seen from the southern hemisphere, but people across the United States, even in California, have spotted them by looking near the southern horizon. Naked eye. Don't even need anything special. Each one caused by a stellar explosion called a nova, flashing into the night sky within about a week of each other, and they will be visible for a limited time. This all started back on June 12th when astronomers spotted the first nova, called V462 Lupi in the Lupus constellation. They found it with a sky survey telescope, but it got so bright that it later became visible with the naked eye. Then on June 25th, they identified another one, V572 Velorum in the constellation Vela. And so now you've got two. At first, astronomers were thinking this double nova was unprecedented. But 7 years ago, there was another one when two novas reached brightness visible to the naked eye in 2018. The novas occur when two stars revolving around each other in a binary system create a thermonuclear explosion, which consists of one star and a white dwarf, the leftover core of a dead star. And the reaction begins to form when the white dwarf's gravity pulls hydrogen-rich matter from its stellar companion. After a large amount gathers around the white dwarf, it leads to this fusion reaction and nuclear explosion, with the brightness reaching on average 200,000 times brighter than the sun. And some of them, can become bright enough for us to see from the Earth. Looks like a new star in the sky that can last for days, weeks, or even months. And after the explosion, the energy is so great that it pushes the two-star system apart. Eventually, gravity pulls them back together again, and then the whole dance starts anew. So these two novas are visible in the night sky for a limited time. We don't know when they'll stop shining, but the thinking as of July 1st was that they may be visible for just another few nights. The sooner you get out there to look, the better. The astronomers say both novas are better seen from the southern hemisphere, but around the United States, people have spotted the V462 Lupi. They say it's better to look right after sunset toward the southern horizon. In southern parts of the continent, like Mexico, Texas, and California, you might be able to get a glimpse of V572 Velorum. Both novas are right now past their peak luminosity, but they do remain visible in the night sky. The color can be described as a warm yellow, some images capturing it with a red hue, possibly because of the star's system's cooling. And not only do we have double nova, but astronomers say they're keeping their eye on the sky for another explosion called a recurrent nova, which is due to happen soon. So that's called the Blaze Star. And the last time they saw it was in 1946. It explodes about every 80 years. It's been dropping in brightness since 2023. Oh, we'll see. They say the next blast of that one is imminent. But check the southern skies, the horizon. You may see something really bright. And send a picture if you see it. I'll share it. All right, it is time for Hide in Your Cave Monday. Hide in your cave. And with everything going on, we may want to hide in our cave, right? Come on. Today, we're going to South Africa to look at some amazing caves. The first one we have is this one. Look at that. That is called, and these are the eight oldest caves in South Africa. This one is called the Sudwala Cave. It's more than 240 million years old. It has been known to locals for centuries, but first explored in 1914. It's among the oldest known cave systems on Earth. The Sudwala Caves formed about 240 million years ago with Precambrian dolomite rock. The timeline placing the formation before the African continent separated from other land masses. The caves feature spectacular dripstone formations, remarkably preserved microbial fossils of cyanobacteria dating back some 2 billion years. Throughout history, the caves have served multiple purposes: fortresses, shelter during tribal conflicts. Today, you can explore them through guided tours that reveal the limestone formations, including one called the Screaming Monster. And there's an amphitheater-like area called PR Owen Hall, which occasionally hosts concerts because of the really good acoustics down there. The next one is called, let's see if I can say it right, Sturfontein Cave. Sturfontein Caves, over 3 million years old. The discovery year is given as 1896 because of mining that happened, and the first studies of fossils that came from this cave happened in 1936. This is about 40 kilometers northwest of Johannesburg. These caves represent one of the richest hominin fossil sites in the world. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's called often the Cradle of Humankind. These are limestone caves that scientists say have altered our understanding of human evolution. They gained fame after the discovery of Mrs. Pless, which was a nearly complete Australopithecus africanus skull dating back 2.1 to 2.6 million years, and also Littlefoot, which is an almost entire Australopithecus skeleton estimated to be 3.67 million years old. And those findings gave us insight into human ancestors and their development. So you can go and look in these caves. There's an interpretive center, and then you can tour the caves themselves and learn about the ongoing anthropology research that is still going on here and still continues to yield discoveries about our origins. Just fascinating. The next cave that we're going to hide in is the Wonderwork Cave. That's what it looks like from the outside. You can see the gate there. Here's what it looks like from the inside as you walk through one of the oldest caves in the world. The Wonderwork or Wonderwork Cave, almost 2 million years old. It's in the Kuruman Hills Northern Cape, South Africa. It was first excavated in 1940. Wonderwork means miracle in Afrikaans, so the Miracle Cave. This extends 140 meters into the hillsides here. It's an extraordinary site, holding the distinction of being one of the longest continuously inhabited natural caves in the world. The sediment layers suggest nearly 2 million years of human presence. Wonderwork, yielding evidence of early hominin use of fire, dated to nearly 1 million years ago, among the oldest confirmed instances of controlled fire use in the archaeological record. There have been stone tools from different periods that prove and create connections to our distant ancestors. The access to the public is limited because there's still research being done here. But this cave's significance, the Wonderwork Cave, in understanding our evolution, they say that can't be overstated. It's a connection to understanding how humans started mastering our environment. This one is cool. Doesn't look like much from the outside. This is called the Blumbos Cave. It is about at least 100,000 years old. The Blumbos. See if I have a picture of that for you. Here's what it looks like from the outside. Meh. All right. Here's what it looks like from the inside. Whoa, look at that. This is a limestone cliff about 35 meters above sea level in the Blumbos Private Natural Reserve. It's about 300 kilometers east of Cape Town. This also has changed our understanding of modern human behavior and when that emerged. The excavation started in 1991, revealing Middle Stone Age deposits dating between 100,000 and 70,000 years ago. And what they found? Evidence of symbolic thinking. The cave had geometrically engraved ochre pieces dating to about 75,000 years ago, which represent some of the earliest known symbolic expression by Homo sapiens. That's us. The world's oldest known art studio, a toolkit for mixing ochre-based paint, including grindstones and storage containers dating to 100,000 years ago. 60 perforated Nassarius shell beads found at this site, providing some of the earliest evidence of personal adornment. The cave is closed to the public as a protected archaeological site, but you can see some of the artifacts at the Blumbos Museum of Archaeology in Still Bay. And it looks like they may have a viewing area for some people to go in. That's the Blumbos Caves. Next on the list, the Pinnacle Point Cave. Look at that view from inside the cave looking out. Wow, so pretty. And here's how weird this is. Turn the camera around and look at the new built right on top of the so old. You can see those houses up there. Not, by the way, I think a great place for a house on the cliff that could crumble, but hey, what have you. But you can see down below the walkway leading up to the Pinnacle Point Cave. The estimated age of this cave, about 160,000 years. It is on the Moselle Bay on the Western Cape. This has yielded an extraordinary cache of evidence of coastal adaptation and symbolic behavior dating between 170,000 and 40,000 years ago, with critical insight into early modern human development during a period when our species nearly faced extinction. The archaeological findings here at Pinnacle Point demonstrate early humans were harvesting marine resources and using red ochre for symbolic purposes. The evidence suggests these early inhabitants possess sophisticated cognitive abilities, including complicated planning and technological innovation. They're mostly a research site rather than a tourist destination, but what they tell us about the resilience of our species and how we're able to adapt during challenging periods of climate, very, very interesting. Next on the list, the Kango Caves. Here's the Kango Caves. Look at those formations in there. Formed more than 20 million years ago. Discovered in 1780. This is in the foothills of the Swartberg Range in the Western Cape province. These Kango Caves represent one of South Africa's most spectacular natural wonders. It's Precambrian limestone that makes up this cave, and the cave system is really extensive. It extends 4 kilometers, though only about a quarter of that is accessible to visitors. These caves have been inhabited since the early Stone Age. There's rock art and artifacts indicating long-term human presence down there. There are chambers featuring dramatic dripstone formations, massive stalactites and stalagmites that have developed. This is one of South Africa's oldest tourist attractions. They have standard tours for casual visitors. They have adventure tours for people willing to crawl through the narrow passageways. Nope. Steep climb formations. The ability to go see these things allows you to explore the earliest evidence of human innovation and one of the world's earliest ancient stone tool discoveries as well. Here's another wonder cave. This one's called the Bathongo Wonder Cave. It's about 2.2 billion years old. Here's Bathongo. Look at that. They say it's first discovered in 1898. Its location given as the Cradle of Humankind. It's within the Bathongo Rhino and Lion Nature Reserve, and it's part of the Cradle of Humankind World Heritage Site. The cave estimated to be between 5 and 10 million years old. It's the 3rd largest cave chamber in South Africa. It's an area of 46,000 square meters down there. They have magnificent stalactites and stalagmites. It looks otherworldly and has paleontological significance. You get down there via a lift, and then you can explore the wooden walkways that give you access to all the dramatic cave formations, and that lets them protect the cave environment as well. They have guided tours that highlight the geological processes and the historical significance regarding human evolution as well. And the last one is the Weenho Cave. It is, we don't know how old, but it is a natural sea cave. And here's what it looks like from the inside looking out. And I do have some other pictures on a website that I just wanted to show you how interesting this cave is. Let me see it. Okay, so that's a picture looking from the inside out. But here's what it looks like. Let's see if I can make this bigger. You can see that cave down there, right? That's it. That is the Weenho Cave at the Western Cape of South Africa. So that's a sea cave. You can see the opening, but there's some other pictures that I thought were interesting here as well. Hold on. I think I might have to take this down in order to show them to you, sadly. But there are other pictures that I think are worth seeing on this. Oh, here they are. Okay. Look at the ceiling in this cave. To share the screen again. I'll make it bigger in a second. Here's what it looks like in there. Look at the ceiling there. Isn't that cool? This is near a picturesque fishing village called Arniston on the Western Cape, the Weenho Cave. Weenho translates to Wagon House Cliff, and that is referencing the impressive size of this cave. It's supposedly large enough to accommodate a wagon with a full team of oxen. This dramatic sea cave, carved by the relentless action of waves over thousands of years, is only accessible during low tide, and visitors have to navigate through a small opening before the vast chamber reveals itself, opening to magnificent views of the ocean. They say, unlike some of South Africa's other ancient caves, Wiesenhuiskrans offers a more natural adventure experience than an archaeological experience. It has a dramatic setting with waves crashing and sunlight filtering through openings in the rock. It's primal beauty that allows you to connect with the raw power of the geological process. So there's the opening. Here's some, that's the leading up to the Wiesenhuiskrans. And there's the inside of it. This is taken from the back of the sea cave, looking toward the opening of the cave and the sea. So interesting. So there you go. And that, my friends, is Hide in Your Cave Monday. I loved it. I hope you did too. I hope you found something interesting about it. And that's our show. Thank you to everyone who has contributed, and that includes financially as well as sending stories in, and being here and commenting, just all the ways that you participate and make me feel like you want the show to keep going are so appreciated. I did see Luis pop through with 5 today. The after party, always a supernova of fun and enlightenment. Mahalo, Kim. Mahalo to you, Luis. Thank you for the $5 and thank you for the nice comment. So appreciated. Tomorrow it is Travel Tuesday. If you have any suggestions as to where we might go, please email me. It's kim@theafterparty.live. I love your suggestions always. If you see some stories that are interesting along the way, send them on over via email. I will often not check Facebook, so if you're trying to message me on Facebook, it's not as good as sending an email. kim@theafterparty.live is where to find me. And I'll see you tomorrow on the Mark Thompson Show, where we'll have some great guests and some great conversation. So I hope you'll join us there. But until we meet again, make it a great rest of your Monday, and I'll see you tomorrow here on the YouTube. Bye, everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Yes, hit the like button. Thank you, Karen.